conclusion of Aegon's prophecy as the reason for his conquest of Westeros has widely been accepted by fans, even if we do not know yet if it will be part of the main books. I find this idea of the secret being passed down from king to king very compelling, more so because of the concept of it being the reason for Aegon's invasion of Westeros, because he knew about the Long Night and the White Walkers, which was a popular fan theory for some time before House of the Dragon. But here's the problem: at the same time, the logistics of such a secret being passed down in the way the show depicts has left some fans scratching their head as to how it's even possible given what we know about Targaryen history and lore. So in the show, Viserys is carrying a huge secret passed from king to king since the time of Aegon the Conqueror, a secret he then passes on to Rhaenyra when he makes her his heir. The idea is that this prophecy relates to the fact that Aegon the Conqueror had a prophetic dream about the White Walker threat and the Long Night. He decided he needed to take Westeros, knowing the only way to stop the White Walkers was a united realm and, well, lots of dragons. Just imagine for a second if the White Walkers and the Long Night happened when House Targaryen was at its peak before the Dance of the Dragons. It would be a very different story. But with so many of the adult Targaryens dead after the Dance of the Dragons, the secret was lost with them, and it is speculated by fans that it's lost until Rhaegar Targaryen rediscovers it years later, and thus begins the events that would lead to the main book series. But there is a logistical issue with the secret being passed from king to king for over 150 years, especially when the succession gets muddy after the death of King Aenys and Maegor, as well as Aegon the Uncrowned. It should not be possible for Viserys to know the secret, as there was no one left alive who knew about it to tell King Jaehaerys, who would then go on to tell Viserys when he was made his heir, after the Great Council of 101. But there are some ways you can make this work. The first vital point I want to make is that it is most likely that Aegon told his sister wives, Visenya and Rhaenys. I think it's a given he would have done this. They had no children at this point in time, and Aegon would need them to know should anything happen to him during the conquest. But what we know for sure is this: Aegon tells his eldest son Aenys his secret. Then when Aenys is king, he passes that knowledge on to his heir, Aegon the Uncrowned. But then Aenys suddenly dies, and Maegor, his brother, takes the throne, with him killing Aegon the Uncrowned, likely before he could pass the knowledge of the prophecy on, given he was so young, and he had no children old enough to tell. Now I believe that Maegor also knew about the secret. Visenya, seeing Aenys as a weak king, told Maegor about the prophecy to help convince him of the need for him to usurp the throne for himself after his brother's death. That would mean, after his mother's death in 44 AC, it would leave Maegor as the only person left alive with knowledge of the prophecy. Now this is where it gets a bit complicated. Maegor himself dies with no children of his own, with his heir being the daughters of one of his Rhaenyra Targaryen. And this is where a lot of people take issue with the idea of the prophecy and how Viserys knows of it. How does the secret pass on to Aegon the Uncrowned's younger brother, King Jaehaerys, and then Viserys, if not from Maegor himself, which given the timeline and location of the characters does not seem possible? I see there being two clear ways Jaehaerys could learn of this knowledge. The first is via House Baratheon, which I think is the least likely of these two methods. Now given Orys Baratheon was the best friend of Aegon the Conqueror, and likely his half-brother, it seems possible that as with Visenya and Rhaenys, he told Orys about the prophecy. Maybe Orys then passed the secret down to his descendants, till we get to Rhaegar Baratheon, the man who was so vital in putting Jaehaerys on the throne in the tail end of Maegor's reign. I'm not a fan of this idea. It is implied that the secret is only passed from heir to heir of House Targaryen, so half House Baratheon knowing might be a bit too much. It would be common knowledge by the time of Viserys, and therefore the secret would never be lost. At the end of the day, if lots of people know of it, it's not really a secret anymore. I think the best option is actually via Rhaenyra Targaryen, the young widow of Aegon the Uncrowned, and then later taken to wife by King Maegor. Now before Aegon's death, he did father twin daughters with Rhaenyra. Before going into battle and being killed by Maegor, it is possible he passed the information on to Rhaenyra with the intent of her passing it on to their eldest daughter when she was old enough. Another possibility, and one that I personally favour, is that when she would later be forced to marry Maegor as part of the Black Brides, I think it's possible that Maegor told Rhaenyra about the prophecy, and it could be a reason why she agreed to marry him. Yes, of course, there are many other reasons as well, ones we know from Fire and Blood, like the safety of her daughters. I think using the prophecy as a tool to convince Rhaenyra to marry him is definitely something Maegor would do. I do think it is likely either Prince Aegon or King Maegor told Rhaenyra. So how does the information then get to Jaehaerys, and thus Viserys? I think Rhaenyra kept this information to herself for a long time, as she believed herself or her daughters to be the rightful queens, and thus the prophecy was hers to keep. I think there is some truth to the theory that she was perhaps planning some kind of rebellion during the early part of Jaehaerys' reign, during her time in the Westerlands, and her travels around there could have been her trying to gain support for it. But once she did somewhat reconcile with Jaehaerys after their mother's death, it is possible she chose that moment to pass the information on to him. Now he was firmly established as king, and seemed to be a good king at that. I also think she possibly chose to do it after the death of her daughter Aeria, knowing she herself would never be queen, and the realization she had no heirs to pass the information to. She could have then told her brother the secret. Either way, at some point, she passed the knowledge on to Jaehaerys. My next question is, who did Jaehaerys then tell? We know he must have told Viserys when he became his heir after the Great Council of 101, but I do wonder if he ever told Prince Aemon or Balon, or they were his heirs before their deaths. Regardless, we know he told Viserys the end of the Dance of the Dragons will see the secret lost with most of the adult Targaryens dead. I also suspect he told his wife Alysanne Targaryen. I made a video a while ago about how that might be the reason why she took a trip to the Wall and was such a firm supporter of the Night's Watch. I also have a video talking about how Jaehaerys' knowledge of the prophecy can be seen by lots of the political and infrastructure improvements he made to Westeros. You can find these videos in the description. But in terms of my idea of how Jaehaerys learned of the prophecy, this view of events I've constructed is assuming it only ever passes from heir to heir. For example, King Aenys could have told his wife Alyssa, who tells Jaehaerys, and it's even possible that Aegon the Conqueror could have told his grandsons himself, as we know from Fire and Blood he used to tell them stories in the map room on Dragonstone. But for the secret to be as secret as it seems, and for it to die during the dance, very few people can know it. I still don't know how I feel about the prophecy as a concept in the books, as it does seem a bit convoluted. But the more I reread the books, with it in mind, the more I find instances where it does actually fit nicely, even if there is a bit of debate as to the logistics of passing it down from king to king.